Hi, it's David Eldridge, and you're listening to the David Eldridge Financial Literacy Show. Today, I'm going to share with you the top 10 components of a financial plan, as well as a new study that finds that clients who are using financial advisors are actually happier with their finances. So, the top 10 components of a financial plan. Number one, goals. If you don't set a goal, how do you know where you are or where you are heading? Common goals that a lot of folks talk about are retirement. But we want to focus on in retirement, not just staying still, but what does that next chapter really look like? But we may have other goals that are shorter term goals, maybe in the next few years around another home purchase or upsizing a house or downsizing a house, maybe a vehicle purchase coming up. May have intermediate term or medium term goals that it may include some college for a child that's coming up soon. And then long-term goals back to retirement or what that next phase of life looks like. So clear identification of your goals makes it a lot easier to put together a plan and really assess where you are on track with those particular goals. Number two, assessing your net worth, really looking at your assets versus your liabilities, and getting a good grasp of where is your money going, along with a budget every month. So that way we can work to reduce your debt and reduce those liabilities over time and increase those assets that are generating income for you today, but also in retirement. Number three, a budget. So really, especially starting the new year here in 2022, getting an idea of where you're spending money. Is that where you want to be spending money, or is there money leaking out on things that you haven't really looked at before? And this is a really good opportunity as we begin the year, especially for couples, to have discussions around budgets, to have clear identification of, is that budget and the spending aligning with the goals that you're looking to take. And number four, risk. So risk can run the gamut of very conservative to very aggressive, and that all depends on your personal preference and what's going to help you sleep well at night. You may have someone who's already in retirement and more prone to be on a more conservative type of investment portfolio because their time horizon is shorter, whereas someone who is younger, just out of college, and they have a lot of time on their side, so they have the ability to be more aggressive if they choose to, and what those benefits of that can be. Number five goes along with budgeting, emergency funds. So making sure that you do have some money set aside for emergencies. It could be as little as $500 or $1,000. So that way, when an emergency does arise, you're not using additional debt in order to move through that particular period. Because emergencies will happen, it's not if, it's when will they occur. Could be something on a vehicle, could be something at your house, could be a medical expense that comes up. Number six, insurance. So lots of different types of insurance. Obviously, one that's big that people is top of mind right now is healthcare. Making sure that you have the proper coverage for you and your family, whether that is through an employer or available out there in the marketplace. You also want to make sure you have adequate life insurance. Are there other people in your household depending on your income? If something were to happen to you, would they be able to continue the lifestyle that you're living now? The other side of that is maybe you're to the point where you're self-insured and you don't really have a need for life insurance, and that's something we could definitely discuss as you're going through planning. The other one that's actually more likely is disability insurance. So not if you pass away, but what if you got hurt in an accident or something health came up and you're no longer able to continue working in the field that you were currently in, how would that affect your life? How would that affect your income? So reviewing your life insurance, reviewing your disability insurance as well. And then the other pieces, especially starting a new year, insurance around your homeowners. Any changes there, just it's always good to review that. Auto insurance, especially for a lot of folks that are working from home more and not driving as much. It's possible that you may be overpaying for your auto insurance as well. And another piece that fits into insurance if you're a business owner, making sure you have good liability insurance so that if something does come up, then your business and your personal assets are protected as well. And then for those folks that are getting nearer to retirement, exploring long-term care insurance, the pros, the cons, making sure you're having a good discussion around that as well. Number 7, paying down high interest debt. So making sure that we put together, if you are in a place where you are paying on different liabilities, especially what we'll call bad debts, having a plan and a strategy in place to make sure that that those debts can be paid off in a timely manner, and really developing that plan so that you can see that goal and making sure that you're moving toward that to accomplish it. Number 8, really investing. I think that's pretty straightforward to say. But what are your options? If you're working at an employer, now that we're in 2022, contribution limits have increased. So if your employer does offer an employer-sponsored retirement plan like a 401k, a 403b, etc., maximizing that if possible, but at least trying to take advantage of any match that your employer may have. Up to the limits, as well as exploring. Some plans do also offer an after-tax option, and there are some additional planning opportunities there as well. If you're not covered by a plan at work, even looking at your traditional or Roth IRA contribution limits, we're in a period right now through tax day coming up April 15th that you can still contribute for 2021, as well as you can contribute for 2022. So opportunities there, $6,000 a year for individuals, as long as you have income that meets that, and an additional $1,000 or $7,000 a year if you're 50 or over as well. Number 9, when we start to look at retirement, we also want to look at where's income going to come from in retirement. Maybe you're fortunate enough that you do have a pension, or you will have a pension in the future, but that's becoming fewer and fewer as we get there. How does Social Security come into play when you get into retirement, whether taking it earlier, taking it in the middle, taking it later, and how does that factor into your family history? Especially looking at couples, one may be older, one may be younger. How do we optimize that so that those assets last as long as possible and get the most effective return from our investments that we talked about in investing in and allowing those to grow? The other piece to cash flow or creating streams of income in retirement is taxes. Nobody wants to pay more taxes than they have to, but we want to make sure that we're doing what we can now to retirement and in retirement to help smooth out your overall tax liability. You may have heard of what are called required minimum distributions that have now moved into the age, starting at the age of 72. And if you don't do any planning prior to that, you could run into a big cliff, if you will, where you're gonna have to start taking out a lot more money than you even need. So one thing that we like to look at is what makes sense as far as your particular situation to help smooth out and minimize your tax liability over the years in consultation with your accountant. And number 10, creating an estate plan. So we can do all of these things on the financial planning side, making sure you have proper investments, making sure you're properly protected from an insurance perspective if something were to happen to you. But if we don't look at your estate planning and getting something into place, it could blow up the entire plan. Really, estate planning is the idea of what would you want to happen with your assets and your resources if you were to pass away. What also would you want to happen if you were to become incapacitated? So things that we like to see and advise clients to have prepared a simple will. A trust makes sense for most folks. That can vary a little bit state by state, but there are definitely some benefits to the trust and can help reduce taxation for some individuals. We do like to have a healthcare power of attorney. So if you're in a situation where you are unable to make your own healthcare decisions, who would you want to make those decisions for you? Also, a financial power of attorney. If you're in that same type of situation, who would you want to make your financial decisions for you? Then the last one is a living will, or a do not resuscitate type of document. Just to say, if you're at an end of life type of an event, what, if any, heroic measures would you want taken in order to sustain your life?